Hello guys, and welcome to another video. And yesterday, Kirby and the Forgotten Land got a demo, and overall it was really fun, and I'm really looking forward to the game. I feel like the game might even be in my top 10 favorite games of all time if the full game ends up being as good as the demo. But just overall, that was really fun, and I'm just really looking forward to Kirby and everything. But I feel like it really goes to show that Nintendo should kind of continue in the trend of doing more demos, because it does seem like they've been doing a lot of demos lately, like they did one for Metroid Dread, WarioWare, and I think they even did one for Miitopia, but I think they should continue in this direction and continue to do like different demos and different things. I guess even Switch Sports not too long ago counts as a demo. That was only a couple of weeks ago, but that was like really limited. That was only like a couple hours at a time, so I guess that doesn't really count that much. But I feel like Nintendo should kind of continue this trend and do it for even more games, because I think there are some games that they miss out on sometimes, some even obscure games. But like I feel like this, like doing demos like this, like they did back on the 3DS, would be very beneficial for a lot of games. Like, it was definitely beneficial for Metroid Dread. Even though that released after Metroid Dread came out, it did help get people interested in the game, and I did see some people on Twitter who got interested in Metroid Dread through that demo, so they definitely do help. And I feel like that's also the case for Kirby and the Forgotten Land, even though in this case it's actually a couple weeks before the game comes out. But I feel like a lot of people were talking about it, and a lot of people were interested, which definitely helps a game get more attention and helps kind of bring a lot of popularity into a game. So they're definitely really helpful in that aspect. And like I said, I've noticed kind of a trend over the past couple years, like Nintendo is slowly adding it back into more games, because Nintendo used to do demos more back on older systems, like on the 3DS. I feel like there was a demo for basically any game on the 3DS, and it even downloaded demos without your permission on the 3DS sometimes if you were like connected to the internet, and that was kind of annoying. But like overall, the demos on the 3DS were pretty good. Like, I mean, they were a little some of them were pretty limited and some of them worked pretty weirdly, but overall, they worked really well, and they kind of helped me get interested in some of the games. I kind of forgot which ones in specific, but I definitely remember playing a lot of demos on the 3DS before I got the actual game. And during the early Switch era, I feel like they kind of phased out demos a little bit. Like, they did have it for the occasional game, but it feels like now they're actually starting to bring them back more. And I really hope they continue to do it. Like, Advance Wars would definitely benefit from, like, a demo, because that's a much smaller game, or I guess, not really smaller in terms of scale, but more smaller in terms of audience. So I feel like they could definitely do, like, a demo for that game that kind of, renew interest in Advance Wars and kind of get a lot of people interested in the new game. And it could even work for things like Mario Strikers Battle League, because, like, well, even though Mario, obviously, and even Mario Strikers has a lot of recognition behind it, it would definitely help to get people kind of into the gameplay, even if they did, like, an online demo, kind of like with Switch Sports, but they should really let people record it that time. But, like, I feel like other games, like Pokemon Legends Arceus or Breath of the Wild, and eventually its sequel, those games, it's a little harder to do something like a demo for those games. I don't really think it's possible, because they're, like, open world, and they're much bigger. So I don't really think that's possible for games like that, but usually most games, if not, like, smaller titles, definitely benefit and definitely work with, like, a demo and everything. And another thing that I want Nintendo to basically continue to do is their game trials through Nintendo Switch Online. And I've mentioned this in past videos, mostly in recent news videos, because they do those seemingly at a random schedule, like with most things Nintendo releases for Nintendo Switch Online. So it's kind of weird how they do those, because sometimes they pick first-party titles, and other times they pick, like, big third-party titles, and then other times they do like, random indie games. I mean, that's fine if they do indie games, but if it's in, like, a 5-month gap of no game trial releases, and it's just Among Us that you can buy for, like, $5 on the eShop, I really don't think there's a point in doing a game trial for that, especially because it's free, like, on smartphones and everything. And then with other indie games, they're usually pretty cheap, and I feel like bigger, more expansive games would definitely benefit from this game trial service. So I think Nintendo should do game trials more often, and maybe even do it for new games, like that just release. I mean, I'm not sure if it would work for all games, but I guess certain games, like Advance Wars, would definitely benefit from it. Like, I would say, like, probably the middle titles would definitely benefit from it more. Like, usually the titles that are, like, $40, $50 would definitely benefit, like, from game trials if they did it, like, at launch. Like, I feel like Game Builder Garage would have worked well. That definitely would have had more popularity if they did, like, a game trial or something like that around the time it came out. It did have a demo around the time it came out, but it was pretty limited, and it only showed off like one tutorial feature. But just overall, I feel like Nintendo providing more ways to try games is definitely good, and I feel like they're kind of improving in that aspect, both with the game trials and the increased amount of demos for new games coming out. But I do feel like they could definitely do the game trials more, because that would be beneficial. Like, maybe even every 2 weeks they could do game trials, and then they could maybe rotate them out, like once a month. They do like a big title, like a big $60 title from either Nintendo or a third-party developer, and then all the other weeks they do smaller titles and like indie games and different things like that. So I feel like Nintendo could definitely have a better system for game trials. And with demos, I feel like they could do it they could release them alongside most like first-party games coming out, except for the really expansive ones, like Breath of the Wild and Pokemon Legends Arceus, and I guess the new Pokemon games, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But games like that, they don't really need the exposure because they're already pretty well known already. But I feel like definitely games like Kirby and Metroid Dread benefited from these demos, and I think it could definitely help a lot of games if they continue to do like a increased amount of demos, kind of like what they did on the 3DS and older consoles. So anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Twitter if you want to. Goodbye.